Hey there, honey bunnies. Welcome to episode 111. My favorite numbers. I love strings of one. Probably because my birthday's in November. It's really not for any other particular reason. I just think strings of ones are awesome. So 111. Just say no to woo woo. That might not be the final title. I got to think of something. Oh, anyway, episode 111 of your Sovereign Storytellers podcast with your host, Michelle Wolf. I just launched right in. So, what do I mean by that? Well, here's the thing. I saw someone mention this on TikTok, a TikToker. Unfortunately, I don't remember his name. But he made a good point, and it really got me thinking. He said he wasn't going to call what he does, he wasn't going to use that word anymore because it trivializes the talents. That's not what he said, but it's what I immediately thought when he said that. I'm going to invite us to consider not using that word anymore. I'm not going to use it anymore. And here's why. Because it does trivialize it. It puts it in a sort of apologetic energy. Like, oh, don't think I'm a weirdo, but I do this stuff. It's just woo-woo. It's just so, it's a little weird. But that's not a very powerful or confident energy. I've never liked the word, but then it's like, well, we do have shared words so that we can communicate, so that we know what we're talking about, but we're automatically lumping everything into this woo-woo category, or just calling it a woo, which puts it in the weird category. And what I'm saying is if you're out there doing energy work, talking to the dead, being a channel for energies and entities or whatever we want to call them, exercising your intuition or trying to grow that, that is, so today we call traditional medicine the American Medical Association, right? Your doctors. And we call herbs and oils and homeopathy alternative medicine. That's flip-flopped, right? Because historically, the herbs and the whatnots were traditional medicine. That's what we had. Now, I'm not bashing on the medical field. There's a lot of good to be had there, and I got both my shots, and I'm happy for it. And if I need surgery, I want a good, logical, clinical surgeon. I want someone who is very Spock-like doing surgery if I have to have that. So, but in our culture, still the doctor types have greater credibility than the herbal and the energy workers. Part of that is, I think, our own fault for not funding really good research, for not doing clinical trials. We are getting better at being able to measure the results of Reiki, forest Reiki, of course, and healing touch, therapeutic touch, all the energy works out there. We're getting, I think, closer to being able to actually measure that in a scientific way. I think we just haven't had the instruments, because we know it works. But we need to be able to explain, like, what happens when it doesn't work. What are the, I would just like to understand it better, the mechanics of it. Because I don't think it's fruity and flowy and fluffy. There are mechanics to it, but we just can't define them or explain them yet. So what I'm saying is when we say woo-woo for our work, we're automatically putting it in the less than category, as if not being aware of your beloved dead, whether those are biological or friends who've passed, as if not being aware of that is preferable. We're saying that it's better not to have intuition. It's better not to be able to hear other energies or see potential future events. We're saying it's less than. And I'm done with that. If you're out here doing the work, I feel like we have a little bit, maybe a lot, of responsibility to start insisting that these human skills that we just haven't used for hundreds of years because we used to get killed for it, that we need to start insisting that they have their proper place, that they are valued as legitimate ways of gathering information, to legitimate information sources with which we use to explore our physical life, our world, our life experience from birth to whenever we die. That information from the other side or beyond the veil or whatever you want to call it is every bit as valid as the information I get when I focus my eyes on this terrifying bug that's in my recording studio / bathroom. It's pretty scary. Like, I'm not sure what it is. Like, is it an ant? It's got wings, but it looks like an ant. It's really creepy. It's right across from me on the late 70s pink tile, which I love. But anyway, what's being received by my eyes is valid. If I wanted to take the time and tune in energetically to the scary bug, chances are I would perceive something. And what I'm saying is that perception is equally valid. When we go into the woods, even if you are a head-blind, logical person, we all know we feel better in the woods. There's science for that, and there's energetic perceptions that aren't documented scientifically. That information is valid. The energetic stuff, the sense that there is a presence in a tree, that the lake has a presence, that the river has a different kind of presence, those are valid. Other fields or the world in general is not going to take psychic skills and intuitive abilities and mediumship talents seriously if we keep saying, oh, it's just this woo-woo thing. It's just this woo-woo thing that I do. No big deal. We say it like, we say it with the undertone of, please don't burn me at the stake. I really don't want to die as a witch. Right? Like, I get it. But that's what struck me. I was like, oh, we're presenting these things apologetically in the way, I don't have perfect analogies here, but it reminds me of a little dog going up to a big dog and then rolling over in like submissive posture. It reminds me of that. It's sort of like how people apologize for their wealth. If you've been around people who are uncomfortable with the level of wealth that they have, you can see it on their face. They're uncomfortable when the topic comes up, and they tend to apologize for having a good life. It's oh yes, I'm driving a Jaguar, but don't hate me. I'm not different. I just have, it's just a Jaguar. I got it on sale. It's that thing with women's clothes, right? You have a nice handbag, somebody compliments it, and you're like, oh, I got it at the outlet store. Oh, it was a gift from so-and-so, or oh, I picked it up at a thrift store. Like, why do we say that? Because we feel uncomfortable. And I'm saying that we should Just Say No to the woo-woo label. That if someone asks, oh, how did you know that? Oh, I'm psychic. I've done a lot of work, and I've opened up to the intuitive abilities that all human beings have. And so I saw a picture in my head. That's how I knew that you were lying to me or whatever. That's how I knew you said you were okay, but you really weren't. And that's why I said, are you sure you're okay? I saw a picture in my head. Oh, I heard a voice. I just know, but I really don't know how I know, but I have this knowing thing. Um, you know? Like if someone said, oh, you're a really good cook, you'd probably just say thank you. You probably wouldn't say, this is a recipe of my mom. You might say it was your mom's recipe, but you wouldn't go into a big long thing about it. And you probably, I hope you wouldn't apologize for it. Although I should take this back because I know there are some cultures that have a thing about you're supposed to, if someone compliments your cooking, you're supposed to say, oh, no, I'm a terrible cook or whatever. So just speaking from American culture, I would hope you'd say thank you to that. That was a bad analogy. Let's just erase that. Let's keep going. Just forget I said that cooking thing. That was dumb. So, when we recognize that these are the talents and abilities that have kept the human species on the planet as long as it has been, that in the past we wouldn't have made it if we didn't have communications from the other side. If we didn't have anybody who could hear the people who had died eating that particular kind of mushroom, who could warn us, like give you a bad feeling when you go to reach for the poisonous mushroom. We got those informational pieces from each other. Like, Bob eats the mushroom and dies, and he's standing next to Mabel. She remembers and tells her family, don't eat that. We get it that way. But we got lots of information from our dead. And we got a lot of information from plant consciousness, who will tell you, you can eat this, you can eat me, but you can't eat my neighbor. We were told by Willow, use my bark. It will ease your pain. Those intuitive communications used to be commonplace. Then they were pushed to the side. The information I got recently is all the doors were closed based on greed and possession. So you have a little community of people and one person is really good at hearing the information from the other side. Then human greed takes over, and that community wants to kind of hoard that person or put themselves up as we're better because we have we have a person who can hear stuff or whatever. So because of greed and just our normal human feelings, those doors got shut. And then we come to fighting over property because the whole witch thing was economy, money, property, women who had property and power. What's the best way to get rid of them quickly? Call them a witch. And what's the best way to terrify every other woman about stepping into her power? Make her watch us burn the witch, right? Terrified little girls and women forever. We're still struggling with it, right? That's part of why we say, oh, it's just a woo-woo thing. It's like candy. Like now when I say it, it feels like I'm a little girl. And I'm talking about my pink stuffed rabbit or my candy. Like it's fluffy and lightweight. And what feels very important to me is that we say that we have these things with confidence. And I know that challenges the witch wound. There's lots of stuff out on the internet about the witch wound. People much more articulate than I have done a lot of work around that. Go Google and find it. There was a previous episode on this podcast, it wasn't that long ago, about the witch wound in DNA. You can go listen to that. So I know it's not easy. It's not easy for me. I've been really going through the ringer because I saw this Herkimer diamond that Courtney Francis was selling. Courtney's Crystals, and it's Courtney with an A. Oh, what is it? Courtney with an A. COURTNAYS_crystals on Instagram. So Courtney's _crystals on Instagram and Facebook. Anyway, she has these lives. She's the ethical crystal person, and I've been looking for someone for that for a while. I don't buy too many crystals because I don't like not knowing where they came from. I don't know if the sellers or the vendors are ethical or not. I want to know those things, and Courtney does all that. She makes sure that the source is known, that it's not children, slave labor, all that stuff is taken care of. So anyway, I like to go to her live shows because they're fun. I like looking at all the stuff, and I usually spend too much money, but whatever, it's beautiful. So she had this Herkimer diamond for a while, and the minute she posted, I was like, oh God, that's gorgeous. What the hell is that? I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know what a Herkimer diamond was. So that show went by and nobody bought it. I didn't even consider buying it because it was high priced. I was like, whoa, wowee, I didn't know those were like that special. And I didn't understand it. But I was really drawn to it. A lot of people were. And then it came around again, and I was like, oh man, I think that might be mine. I went through this whole ordeal internally of, how do I justify the expense? I don't know, it's a big deal. And it had a presence with it, a being. I don't have a name for it. I'm just calling him B and the gang. Because B and the gang, get it? B and the gang, being the whole thing. It's a pun, y'all. If you have to explain it, it's not a good joke, right? Anyway, I went through this whole ordeal and finally ended up purchasing it. And that being, who is a spokesperson for a group of entities, whatever, I'm still struggling with it. Wouldn't even look at me until I agreed to commit to working with it. And part of the agreement was this is going to challenge you. It's going to put you through the ringer. And then you're going to have some more of your psychic skills open up or abilities open up. And it's going to be a tough road for you for a little bit. Are you down with that? And I was like, I don't know. And so it took me a couple of days. And then I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm ready for this. I'm ready to step out and say, yeah, I can do these things. Yes, this weirdo being. See, I just did it again. That's what we do. Oh, this weird thing. Oh, this woo-woo thing. Oh, what. Don't burn me at the stake, right? Don't look at me weird. Don't reject me, right? Underneath all of that, sorry for that noise. I keep kicking this thing in the bathroom. That's what we always come back to, right? Don't kick me out of the tribe, please. I don't want to die in the wilderness. Let me soften, let me joke, let me smile. Let me make my body small. I don't want to be threatening or scary. So now I have to say, yes, there is this entity who is a spokesperson for this group of entities, and they're telling me about all these other groups of entities like guilds, like Potter's Guild, Weaver's Guild, there's a Healer's Guild, there's an Animal Healer's Guild, there's a blah, blah, blah guild. It's like my head is spinning. But the information that comes through this being for others is amazing. But I've got in the background, I'm like, who do you think you are? Oh, you think you're like Esther now? You got a little Abraham thing going on? And I'm like, oh my God, the critical voice, right? That's how you know you're onto something, when the critical voice is like loud. See episode 110 for that. But it drives it home even more. Like, oh boy, now I get to step out there and say, oh gosh, this being who doesn't really have a name is like, I'm a being, is very masculine, and I see things clearly in my third eye, which I don't normally see that clearly. It's like picking up the telephone. When I pick up the telephone, there's this clear communication between me and this being and the group with the being. It's like a big group of entities and only one of them is the speaker, right? Like the leader, I guess. That's not really an accurate word, but anyway. So that circled me back to, I've got to stop calling this shit woo-woo. I'm going to have to say, this is a thing I do. It's a thing that you can do. It's a thing we can all do. And we need to stop discounting it. And we need to stop showing up as second best. And we need to stop showing up as the rolling over dog and be the big dog. Like, yeah, I can hear the dead people. What's it to ya? Yeah, this crystal is a conduit for this being and this group of entities that provides incredible information to the people who sign up for a reading. Yeah, and? Got a problem with that? Like, we can be sassy about it if that helps. But ultimately, my dream is that someone would say, oh, how did you know that? And we'd say, oh, yeah, I saw a picture in my head. Okay, end of discussion. Oh, they're a person who sees pictures in their head. We kind of give each other, oh, I had a gut feeling, or I had a hunch. Like, that's one way we can do it. Like, for some reason, that's acceptable. Oh, I had a gut feeling. And people nod, oh, yeah, we understand gut feeling. We understand hunch. So why are we just saying it's okay to have a gut feeling, but it's not okay to hear a voice or to see a picture or to feel something in your throat? Like, somehow that doesn't count? Like, only our gut feelings count? Can't our throat feelings count? And our head feelings count? When I first started channeling, I would recognize that the migraines on the right side of my head was when information was trying to come in there, and I wouldn't allow it. As soon as I started allowing it, the headache, that type of headache went away. I don't get headaches on the right side of my head anymore. And when I do, I know it's because something's trying to get my attention, and I need to sit down and do some channeling. I want this normalized. I want this to be so ordinary that nobody flickers an eyelid when somebody says, oh, I woke up this morning and my dead grandmother, or, was telling me this story and it was so cool. And everyone's like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I heard from my dead Uncle Bob last week who told me to plant marigolds by the tomatoes or whatever, I want it to be everyday, ordinary, so that everybody can agree, because you have to agree to it. Somewhere in the system has to be an agreement that these psychic talents will awaken, right? Everybody has them. But it's taken me a long time to agree to them, like they've always been there. But I didn't really agree to them. I didn't really commit to letting the dead speak to me and show me things, and letting my body get used to their presence and accept that and tell people about it. So I'm going to be watching my language. And I'm not going to say, oh, this is weird. And I'm not going to say, oh, this sounds crazy, but I'm not going to say woo-woo. Fuck that. Perdita Finn, I took a class from her. She's awesome, about the dead. And she's like, the only rule is you can't say this sounds crazy, but, and I love that. We're not going to say, you know what, this sounds crazy, but no. If you're going to tell the story, tell the story. Hey, I've got a cool story. Oh, this cool thing happened to me. Oh, this cardinal came to the window right when I was missing my dad, or whatever. Oh, I've got this conversation I want to have. Not, this sounds crazy, but that's our out, right? We're giving ourselves an out. Well, if I say that it sounds crazy, then if the person reacts badly, I can say, see, I told you it sounded crazy. It's probably just nothing. Never just forget I ever said it. Okay. If you're out there doing the work, watch it. Feel into, like, are you putting this forward as, yeah, I'm doing a cool thing. You can do a cool thing too. You know why? Because it's just fucking normal. But we've been told for hundreds of years that it's not normal, that it's demonic, that it's evil, that we're going to burn in hell, that all these horrible things are going to happen to us, when what really it is, nobody wants you to be powerful enough to go, you know what, shit's fucked up around here and this needs to change. What happens when the mamas decide things are going to be different? You know what? Things get different. And some people don't like that. Of course, we've been raised to think of our inherent abilities as dangerous, because they are dangerous. And you know who they're dangerous for? The people making the money off you being ignorant of your own strength, of your own power, of your own talents, being kept blind on purpose, blinded to your abilities. Having a hood over your face for hundreds of years. I am not calling these things woo-woo anymore, and I am not presenting that I do these things in an apologetic, don't kick me out of the, don't kill me kind of energy. Those days are over. Are people going to react negatively, or are you going to get comments from people who are like, oh, you're practicing demon worship and please accept Jesus as your Christ and Savior? Yeah, maybe. You might. The louder and more normal you make it, the more ridiculous comments you might get. So get ready. Just prepare for that. Yes, thank you for your input, Mr. Whatever. It's usually a Mr. that leaves, let me tell you where you're wrong, little missy comments, Not all misters, yes, I know. But can we rethink this, maybe? It helps the cause. You can see this happening in the fashion industry, where some plus-size women were like, you know what, fuck that. We're tired of being told we can't eat bagels or donuts ever. Let's make plus-size bodies normal. And is there a fight about it? Yes. Man, those plus-size models and the people on Instagram and TikTok who are just like standing there in front of the camera in their bikinis and shaking their chub. Are they getting shitty comments? Yes. They're getting mean comments. Mean. Ugh. Like, they're super brave. I give them big credit. I don't think I have it in me to be that brave in that area yet, but I can start stepping into some bravery around these intuitive talent abilities that everyone has, right? I want to make it normal so that more people begin to access it, so that more people will train their nervous systems to tolerate the disruption and the fear that naturally comes up. Let's prepare, let's train so that we can all have access to that, so that we can be empowered, because as the structures fall apart, as they are, and they are going to continue to, We've got to know what's right for us. We've got to know what the other side has to tell us that can guide us through the chaos. We need it. There's nothing wrong with the way things have been. It's been experiences, and now it's time to kind of circle back, not go back to the past, because I don't like that either, but to bring the past forward into current times and make it relevant and accessible and easy and normal. If you're ever working with a psychic who tries to present themselves as better than you because they can hear and see things, get up and leave. There's too much of that happening too. It happens in every world, right? Because we're humans. We do dumb stuff. Some artists will try to pretend that not everybody can learn to be artistic. Is there a continuum of people who have an easier time learning to draw? Yeah, but everybody can learn to draw. There's going to be people who are just naturally able to access their psychic abilities, their intuitive gifts. I probably shouldn't even be calling them gifts. They're just innate talents, inherent abilities. There's going to be people who just automatically do it. Like when I was 18 and started really getting input from the dead, I didn't ask for that. I didn't go train for it. I didn't wake up one morning and say, hey, I want to be a medium. I actually said, when it started happening, I actually had the opposite reaction. Like, oh, hell no, I don't want this. Okay? So there's going to be people who have an easier time. But everybody has the ability. You might need some training and some patience. You may have to work through some fears. You may have to work through stripping away the mystique that's been wrapped around it. You know? Anybody can learn to do it. Anybody can learn to drive a stick shift. Right? People who learn to drive on automatics really struggle sometimes to learn to drive a stick shift car or truck. But they can. If you grew up in a culture that was like, no intuitive abilities ever, that's bad, that's Satan, you may have some stuff to overcome, but you can overcome it. And then you might ask, well, why would I put myself through that? That sounds awful. I don't want to struggle. I don't want it to be painful. Here's why you would do that. Because you know your soul is calling you to do that. You feel a restlessness. You feel a dissatisfaction in the way things are now. You're looking for something. You're looking for you. And your team invisible is like tapping on the door like, hey, it'd be great if you woke up a little more. We'd like to talk to you. Yeah, it might be a little bumpy, but we're here and we can help. Ideally, I want to put myself out of a job. Ideally, I don't want people to have to pay me or anybody for a psychic reading if they don't want to. It's fun. I think it's fun. I had a session with Courtney. It was amazing. I like to get sessions because I can't always see myself clearly because my own head gets in the way. I don't know if that ever gets any better. But I don't have to. I want you to be able to access your information and freely say that you see a picture in your head. You know in your bones. You know it without knowing how you know it. You just know it. That you hear a voice. That you sense a presence. And not have to feel like that should be less than or labeled in a deflective kind of way. I hope this is making sense. I probably should shut up. It's been 35 minutes. Anyway, just say no to woo-woo. Just consider it. Just think about it. Think about what it might be doing on a big picture level. Not just for you personally, but for everybody who works in the field of what is at the moment considered woo-woo or alternative. Let's make this normal. It's up to us to do it. Okay? I'll talk to you next time. In the meantime, think less, feel more. If you want to find out what's being offered right now, thatmichellewolf.com / Nope, just go to the website. It's all there for you. Thatmichellewolf.com. Talk to you later.